through radio, through media. So we are the backbone of the farming community in this country, and we are the tools of farming in this country. Nonetheless, we have a tractor and other implements given by His Excellency. But the campaign through radio and television impress people through His Excellency effort so that people can come out.
The GRS delegation then visited farm number 2, earmarked for groundnut production, which has already been cleared. The finance director and head of the GRS Agricultural Committee, Lamin Sise, once again renewed the institution's standpoint on this year's cropping season.
The proof of the eating is in the pudding, right? Like they said. You've been to some, you are in Bondo here. Now we'll see at the end of the day when we are harvesting, we'll come back on the year 2 and show the people. We are not going to be scared or afraid of showing to the people our produce at the end of the day. Then those who are saying such things, we'll leave it to their senses, then they will judge themselves. But I know one thing, this is a different cause, honestly.
The clearing exercise climaxed with prayers for Allah to shower His blessings on the farming activities being undertaken by not only GRTs, but all others across the country. 4 farms are enough of a proof, as the men and women behind the microphone try to prove their mettle in agriculture. For the Director General and his management, the message is simple. GRTs is ready, and if there is to be any rating, they will not settle for anything outside the best 3. Mohamed S. Jallo, GRTs.
Well, let's wait and see. Well, time now to take our first break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the international news. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Senegal has abandoned plans to send former Chadian President Hissène Habré back to his native country to face charges of alleged human rights abuses. Supporters of the former Chadian leader welcomed the news of the suspension. Habré's lawyers described the offer made by Senegal to extradite their client as an attempt to kidnap him. We have details in this report.
Hissène Habré, the former president of Chad, who has been living in Senegal for the past 20 years, has a lot of supporters in the Taglou neighborhood of Dakar, where he lives. Habré is accused of crimes against humanity, torture and war crimes, but Senegal has suspended plans to return the former dictator to Chad, where he faces the death penalty.
Today we're celebrating not only the victory of Hissène Habré, but it's the victory of all democratic people. It's the victory of all those who decide to oppose in a peaceful and objective manner unilateral and arbitrary decisions and kidnapping in Africa.
Sunday, Senegal's foreign minister explained that Hissène Habré's expulsion was suspended. The foreign minister said Dakar would hold talks with the United Nations, the African Union and the European Union to seek a solution. According to Hissène Habré's lawyers, the attempt to forcibly repatriate the former dictator to Chad is an attempt to kidnap him.
For a time, Senegalese President Wade acted as if Hissène Habré was his property. He used him as if he was an object. He kidnapped him. He's as guilty as if he had done it.
Hissène Habré has been living in political exile in Senegal since his fall from power in 1990. Habré was charged in Senegal in 2000, but a Dakar appeals court dismissed the indictment on the basis that crimes against humanity were not part of Senegalese criminal law.
France has confirmed it has made indirect contact with members of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's government in Tripoli, despite its strong role in the military endeavor against the Gaddafi government. France is also seeking a peaceful solution to the war. The French defense minister, however, said that NATO air raids will cease if all soldiers return to their bases. Let's look at this report for more on that.
France denied reports that it has begun direct negotiations with the Gaddafi regime in Libya, but it admitted that it has made indirect contact to seek a political solution to the crisis along the lines of the African Union Framework Accord laid out last week by AU leaders meeting in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea.
We all agree that we must seek a solution. Such a solution would include a ceasefire and political discussions between all the concerned parties except Gaddafi.
During a televised debate in Paris, the French Defense Minister Gérard Longuet said France has always said it wanted a political solution to the crisis in Libya. He added that an end to NATO airstrikes against troops loyal to Colonel Gaddafi could only occur on one condition.
We will stop bombing when the Libyans begin holding talks and the soldiers return to barracks.
The French National Assembly will hold a debate on Tuesday over the current French military intervention underway in Libya, which is costing France around €1 million per day. Paris is a leading member of the NATO-led international coalition bombing Gaddafi's forces. Meanwhile, in Libya, the fighting continues between rebels and troops loyal to Colonel Gaddafi. Several insurgents were killed on Monday in fighting with loyalist forces.
A series of deadly bombings have rocked various areas in Nigeria, killing dozens of people. The recent bomb attacks were believed to be the work of the extremist group Boko Haram. And the UN's High Commissioner for Refugees, Antonio Guterres, is urging the international community to do more to mitigate the suffering of a growing number of people facing famine and hunger along the border regions of Somalia and Kenya. Hundreds of thousands of desperate refugees are flocking into the Dadaab refugee camp to escape the worst drought to hit the Horn of Africa in decades. We have details of these stories and others in this roundup of news.
Counting the cost of a series of bloody attacks in Nigeria. 14 died after a bomb attack in the center of the country, and close to Abuja, another explosive device killed 3 members of a Christian church congregation. In the north, 11 men said to be Islamist radicals died in an army operation following an attack on a convoy. Authorities blamed the extremist Boko Haram sect. Africa's biggest refugee center, the Dadaab camps in Kenya, are overflowing. Some 400,000 people have flocked to the camps initially set up for those fleeing conflict in Somalia. Huge numbers of desperate people escaping the drought in rural zones of Kenya and Ethiopia have gathered at the camp, initially designed for only 90,000.
I would like to make 2 very strong appeals. The first to the international community, to express massive solidarity and massive support to the Somali refugees, but also to the countries that are hosting them.
Agencies running the camps are struggling to provide enough water, food and shelter. Mauritania receives a promise of aid from France in the fight against Al-Qaeda. French Foreign Minister Alain Juppé flew into Nouakchott to pledge Paris's help after troops repulsed an attack by militants last week against an army base. Several of the attackers were said to have been killed. Juppé also had discussions with Mauritania head of state Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz about a possible peace settlement in Libya. Just days after South Sudan became independent, the new country's provisional government is sworn into office. South Sudan, which is soon to become the United Nations' 193rd member, is also introducing its new currency, the pound. It's valued 1-to-1 against its equivalent, backed by the northern government. The newly independent nation emerged after over 40 years of conflict between North and South.
Before we end this edition of the news, a recap of the top stories. President Jammeh has hit the road to consult with the masses and visit project sites as prescribed by the 1997 Constitution. Military personnel and civilian participants from 40 African countries have gathered in Banjul to test their military communication equipment to harmonize their interoperability. Multiple blasts in different locations, believed to be the work of militant Boko Haram Islamist group, have claimed the lives of several people in Nigeria. And NATO has offered to halt its operation in Libya if the Gaddafi troops withdraw to their bases. You can follow that story and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio live. And that's all in the news. Thank you very much for your time and have a very good week.